Poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Tactical Tuesday on Chasing Poker Greatness with your hosts, Brad Wilson and John Chai.
Welcome, my friends, to another episode of the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast. As always, this is your host, Coach Brad Wilson, the founder of chasingpokergreatness.com, and I'm joined by my Tactical Tuesday co-host, Mr. Jonathan. How we doing, sir?
Back on a normal schedule now. I'm back from the mountains, doing Tactical Tuesday again.
You went into the mountains. What were you in the mountains for?
I was in Banff, Canada, which is it's like part of the Canadian Rockies, I guess. It's just north of Calgary. It was my first time there. I was there for a wedding, and man, I just if you haven't been there, I can't recommend it enough. If you like hiking and mountains and being outdoors, that's got to be one of the best places to do that kind of stuff.
John has been intolerable ever since he got back from Banff. Just every time I talk to him.
Wolf retreat,
Banff. You and your wife got to go to Banff. Hey, Wolves, you got to go to Banff. Everybody's got to go to Banff.
You guys been to Canada before?
Yeah, he sells Banff way harder than he does Tactical Tuesday anywhere in the world.
Tactical Tuesday is pretty good, but Banff is.
Oh man, it is hard to find good help in this world. John, so
let's go. You'll
today,
understand.
Coming from the guy that lived like 30 minutes from Yosemite but never went.
Yeah, I was worried about.
Yeah, of course.
You bring this up.
Yeah, you open the door, right? Like you live a stone's throw away from the most beautiful place that I've ever personally been in my life, and never went.
Sure,
what's the theme?
Hands. Yeah.
Let as much as as fun as it is to talk about like geographical locations to visit and travel to, I think the listener wants to hear some poker hands.
So one of the categories or the themes, I suppose, that we're missing on the Tactical Tuesday website, which have we talked about that at all, by the way?
I think we've talked about it like 7 or 8 times at least. But we could talk about it one more time.
Yeah, we should just make it a clean 9. Yeah. So one of the themes that that we noticed we were missing was pocket queens. We had like aces, kings, jacks, and just not very many queens hands. So we just pulled up basically the 2 most recent pocket queens hands that I've played. These are really, really fresh. I mean, this hand was played yesterday, and the next hand was played like a couple days before that. So pocket queens.
The basic idea behind filling in the website is to find spots in the game tree where we haven't had a discussion on Tactical Tuesday yet and fill in those gaps. So if you want to hop in Greatness Village at greatnessvillage.com, give a suggestion in the Tactical Tuesday discussion channel, feel free to do so. Hero folds is one of the topics that we've yet to fill out, and I think if John has his way, did he? No, that was not here. That was 4 straight, not hero folds. Come on,
he folded a set in a 4-bet pot.
Yeah, he did on a 4 straight though. You had your chance. You blew it with queens specifically.
I don't do that stuff.
All right, so let's dive into this first hand. Full disclosure, I have not seen these hands or looked at anything yet. So this first one looks to happen at 1K&L, where John mins the button with his queens, and the big blind 3 bets to 11 big blinds. So I guess we'll start here.
Yeah, everything looks pretty normal so far pre-flop. Assume I'm just going to 4-bet. My queens, button versus big blind. Going to be doing this pure. Go with a pretty standard 4-bet size. I make it $240 over his $110 3-bet. And the big blind calls. We started the hand like a little bit north of 100 big blinds effective, so nothing crazy with
120.
depth. Yeah.
120 or so. Looks like you have a pretty good flop. Queen of diamonds, jack of hearts, six of clubs. So top set, rainbow, 4-bet pot. Life's pretty good.
Yeah, I can pretty much feel like I can do whatever I want on this board and check and bet small. Probably don't want to bet too big. No reason to bet too big. We can still threaten stacks with a small bet on the flop, or we can still threaten stacks with a check on the flop. I like starting with bet in these spots. I typically bet like a quarter pot or even less sometimes. I would like to see myself go even smaller than quarter pot here with 3 queens and really not much to protect against or be worried about.
Yeah, I agree. And as we already said, the money can go in really at any time. You could check down to the river in 2x jam. Like there's just all the ways to threaten stacks in a 4-bet pot here. I do think that like on this board, you're probably expected to bet fairly often. Looks like you go 90 into about 490, which is what. What
really small
pot is that?
I don't know what
really
percent that
small
is, but just very small is.
Yeah, it's like less than 20%, like 18% here or so. Villain decides to call versus your 18% size bet. The turn pairs the board. So now John has the nut full house. There's 665 in the middle. John has 868 behind. Villain has him covered. Villain checks the turn. So now let's talk about this turn decision point.
I'd be interested to hear what you think about or what you do on this turn, because I played this yesterday. I remember exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, there's 1 bet left, so and you have the nuts. I mean, you just give them a chance to stick it in.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you stick it in yourself.
Yeah. I thought that this was kind of the maybe like the only real decision point in the hand was this turn spot. And I think it's really obvious to us that like we should just check back. We have SPR close to 1 and in position. A lot of good things can happen on the river. You know, we're never not going to be putting the money in because we're in position. But I think this is maybe a spot that a lot of people, including like, I mean, it has to be a lot of players, because like we see, you know, we had this discussion with some of our wolves, and those guys are for the most part really good players, where they just bet this spot way too often.
Yeah. I like that you said for the most part. Anybody any wolves you just want to say publicly? No.
Well,
no.
I mean, we saw a shoe fold a set in the 4-bet pot, so I don't know about that guy. But everyone else seems to be playing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like we can also give them an opportunity to hit a gut shot, hit an open ender, make a boat, turn a pair into a bluff, turn a gut shot into a bluff. They're going to value own themselves if they have like Jack X. There's just not a world where you don't stack Jack X on this board. So like basically checking back, it is kind of a slam dunk to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I think more interesting is like the flop, honestly, on whether to bet or check the flop, because I think that decision could go multiple ways. Especially given that like you probably aren't 4-betting ace queen on the button, and the big blind has ace queen in full.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if this specific flop actually should be a range bet for you. But anyway, we'll move forward into the future instead of dwelling on the past. Turn goes check, river completes backdoor flush.
And everything else is pretty easy.
Yeah, the villain goes all in. Any thoughts of folding here
No.
on the river?
No. Just hope he doesn't have quads.
It could be.
Hopefully Jack's just jam spree.
This could be the first hand in your hero fold catalog.
Yeah, and only shoe fold sets or whatever. Trip 3 of a
Top
kind.
boats.
Flop 3 of a kind in a 4-bet pot. So.
Oh man, the shots are being fired.
Don't come looking for
Coach
me.
Shu. Yeah, shots are being fired. All these shots being fired when he's not here to defend himself.
Dude, all I know is that I went away for 1 week and I just saw like the nittiest Tactile Tuesday episode I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, on the heels of you wanting to fold in a set over set situation with middle set.
But I didn't.
Yeah, that's true. Can't call yourself a nit. You did not. Yeah, so you end up calling. Villain has totally reasonable hand, king jack of spades. I think that basically the way that both of you played the hand is quite well, and if the shoe were on the other foot, you probably no. I know you just get stacked as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I do exactly what he did.
Yeah. So well played hand by both villains. Oh, I guess I just called you a villain, but that's fine. You are kind of a villain.
Yeah.
Let's see what villainous John does in hand number 2 with his pocket queens coming up right after the break.
Are you a lone wolf searching for the ultimate pack? The CPG Wolf program is a close-knit brotherhood hell-bent on one thing only: chasing poker greatness. Powered by bleeding-edge wolf strats and led by Coach Brad and his lieutenants, CPG Wolves are systematically prepared for almost any spot they'll encounter on the green felt. If you want to plug into an elite team and have a step-by-step game plan to realize your full poker potential, you can apply at cpgwolves.com. Space is limited, and the pack is only as strong as its weakest member. So only the hungriest, grittiest, and most driven will be accepted into the program. Applications are open at cpgwolves.com.
All right, we are back after the break. This hand looks very similar to your last hand. Queen of clubs, queen of hearts. Do we want to say anything before we dive right into the action?
No, just get right into the hands.
Yeah. We got stuff to do. we got hands to review, wolves to provide feedback on, data to analyze. We got to move forward. So the button opens to $28. I guess they're a big fan of February.
What a dude! I remember seeing the size and being like, "Wow!" I've seen a lot of button open sizes, but 28, I think might be the first time I've seen this.
I think it's great. Just
I
go ahead.
Treat it like it's 30. Yeah.
Yeah, just rep February and roll. So you 3-bet to 120. You start the hand with 100 bigs. You have queens. You're out of position. So 3-bet pot, out of position with queens. You are the pre-flop 3-better. Flop is Jack 6-3 with 2 hearts. You have the queen of hearts. You start out betting half. Anything to...
No, just happy to have a overpair in a 3-bet pot and planning on just going, likely just going bet, depending on runouts. There are obviously a handful of runouts that I would check on like turn and maybe river, but assuming the board stays like low and not flushy,
Unflushy.
I'm planning on just putting my stack in on the river and hopefully getting bluff caught.
Yeah. Putting your stack in and hoping for the best.
Yep.
We've finally come full circle here. So the board does get flushy on the turn. The turn is the 7 of hearts. So Jack of hearts, 6 of clubs, 7 of hearts, tray of hearts, flush completing turn. There's 497 in the pot. You've got 756.
Man, it just feels like you could do so many different things here. I think like the first thing that comes to mind is just playing range check on flush completing turns and having, like similar to the last hand, having an SPR of like 1. Well, I guess it's like 1.5 to 1, but still nothing like an SPR that's, very jammable on the river, I guess. I think you could just get away with checking range here.
Good word. Good word. Jammable. It is different though. Like you're out of position here, and if you check and villain bets like a third, then you're in this like kind of awkward situation where villains can like check behind if you call, and it's hard to put the last bet in.
I think if I checked and villain bet a third, I would donk jam the river.
You just call donk jam?
Yeah.
Okay. That's somewhat reasonable and decent plan. I think you could also just check raise all in too.
Yeah, I think check raise all in is good.
Yeah.
Would you ever be betting the turn here?
Possibly. I don't think it's the worst going like a third here on the turn. Like, I think you have some natural bluffs. I think that villains can probably bluff catch. I think their Jack X are all going broke.
Yeah.
Going broke against hearts anyway. So
Any merit to jamming?
Just ripping the turn?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, really, it's hard to kind of go wrong.
Right. It just feels like you can do so many different things here too. Yeah.
Yeah, we have like basically unlimited options. You can bet small, you can jam, you can check raise all in, you can check call donk. Just the world is your oyster basically, with 2 streets to play and just a little bit more than 1 bet left.
Yeah.
Or a little bit higher than SPR 1 basically. Right. You opt to check and villain checks back. So now it's pretty clear. I think the path is just to rip. River's the 10 of
8.
Or the 8 of clubs. So final board is Jack 6 3 7 8 with 3 hearts.
Yeah, I think I wanted to have like a brief conversation about river sizing here. I do agree. I think ripping is definitely the move. I think maybe not even that long ago, I might have picked like a different size, thinking like, oh well, when they check back the turn, they just have like lots of bluff catchers, like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, 5s, 4s, even maybe. And then obviously like all this Jack X, like maybe I shouldn't rip, and like maybe I should bet a size that I think like all those hands are much more likely to call. Maybe bet like, half pot or like 2/3 or something like that on the river.
Yeah.
I think this is also a concept that we've been like just pounding in Wolves, is not doing that size in that spot. I don't know if you want to get into like the optional 2-bet game discussion.
Yeah, I mean, basically like villain's going to have bluff catchers that want to put 1 bet in. They're going to have traps that want to put 2 bets in. And so like when you bet small, you give their traps an opportunity to jam, and you give their bluff catchers an opportunity to just call a small bet and lose the minimum.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're out of position, you just have to take more risks just because of the positional disadvantage. And, this is one of those situations where, yeah, like you can rip and just rip right into a set. You can rip right into nut flush.
Flush, yeah.
Yeah, like you can rip into a straight. Like you can just rip into some better hands, but all those hands are going to beat you anyway. So unless you're like playing is to check fold, then ripping, in my opinion, is just the best option. I guess alternatively, if you did bet a third, you could like 1/3 fold, but then you're trying to figure out like how to make a 1/3 call range and 1/3 fold range, as well as like a rip range, and that feels...
Start getting worried about like, oh, did I just induce with this 1/3 on the river?
Yeah, like just too many things, too many variables in play there. You can just simplify and just stick it in here and hope to get called by like Jack X or 10s or 9s.
Yeah, I like one of the things that you said kind of earlier on in this explanation, in that like just because they check back the turn doesn't mean we're like fist pump jamming the river. Like I checked back the turn in the last 10 when I turned a boat because the SPR was like just north of 1. I think this guy could be doing something very similar with the sets and flushes and just being like, okay, well, this guy might just open rip, bluff the river. If he doesn't, then I get to do it for 1.5x pot, and that's fine. So
oh yeah, you could be buying a first class ticket to Bone City, just no return flight. You have to live there forever.
It only costs $1,000 to fly there first class. It's not bad. Yeah. I might go check it out.
I hear it's almost as nice as Banff.
Bone City. Yeah, where is that?
Don't worry about where it is.
You don't need to know where it is.
You don't need to know where it is. No, don't worry about that. So you jam, and villain does call with 2 9s. So we faded Bone City and stack villain with one of their bluff catchers. Yep. And this is like kind of the exact thing that we were just talking about, right? Like if you bet a third or half or whatever, villain's calling with 9s and jamming their flushes.
Yep.
So yeah, good stuff, man. Good episode of Tactical Tuesday. We have queens now in the books. So time to move on to another hand, maybe circle back around to King Queen offsuit. I think that there's lots of things
we
left
probably don't
unsaid.
have enough of those episodes. You're right.
No, I think that we need 200 volumes
200.
before
Okay.
we can call it a day
All right.
on the King Queen off.
That's good. We only have like 2 left to make then.
Yeah, we're pretty much there. Good stuff, man. Great episode,
All right.
as always. And that's all I have.
All right. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Chasing Poker Greatness. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Go to chasingpokergreatness.com to get the newsletter. Join the Greatness Village community, book a coaching session, or dive into the latest data-driven poker courses. Follow the show on Twitter @CPG Podcast.